Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Alexia, and I'm the Project and Event Manager of the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. I will be sharing session resources with you in the chat. But before we begin, I'd like to quickly review two items with you, our Code of Conduct and Event Guidelines. Please take a moment to review our Code of Conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenter. While we do encourage engagement in the chat, please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. This session is being recorded and will be available on demand through our Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in 24 to 48 hours. I will be sharing the link in the chat for our channel. And if you've not been through in a live stream through YouTube before, please know that you must create an account on YouTube in order to access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now, and if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us on social media or on Meetup. Which brings us to today's session. I'm going to bring in our speaker here, our very own Bruno, who should be here now. Hi, Bruno. How's it going?
Hey, Alicia. Hello, everyone. I'm fine, enjoying the good weather.
Awesome. Well, floor is yours.
Perfect. So let me switch to my PC. There it is. And hey, hello, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Bruno Capuano. I work as a cloud advocate in the Microsoft Toronto Reactor. Today, I'm working from home. And I'm wearing a gray t-shirt, a C++, because I am doing some IoT stuff. I am going to talk about this later. I am in my office. I'm a 40-something years old, white Latin person, and I'm super happy to be with you today because today's topic around Azure Static Web Apps is something that I really, really like. So before moving forward, let's do a quick review of what I am planning to show today. So I am going to talk about Static Web Apps. It's a super, super cool tool that we have in the Azure Stack. I start to see people saying, hi, hey, Ivana, we need to do something together again. So quick side note there. But going back here, it's a super cool service that we have in Azure, where if you are working and you have created your application in Angular, in React, Svelte, Vue, or even a single web page, that is what I'm going to show today, you can host this app with just 2 clicks. In Azure, everything from Visual Studio Code, it's super easy. And hey, you can even deploy, you can even create your CI/CD pipeline in a super easy way. And what I'm going to show today is how you can do this and also how you can add an API on top of it. If you want to do an API, I mean, I know what we have APIs in Azure. I know what we have functions, which are not APIs, but similar. But hey, this is something that we can also have. So this is the topics for today. As usual, sorry for the bad demos, the crappy jokes, and everything else. I am all around trying to show this. So let me set up a little the context here and let's show it. So Ivana has also told that she loves static web apps. Yes, they are super, super cool, this. And I need to do the GitHub demo too. I am going to do Azure here, and I am going to pick up this idea and suggestion for Ivana to do the GitHub when you can host the stuff there. There is a difference there. Remind me at the end to explain what you can and can't do in each one of the scenarios. But hey, GitHub is also an amazing place to host your apps. Today, I am going to, as I said, I am going to start with a very simple HTML page. It's going to be basically my CV. It's going to be what I have with a style sheet, an HTML, maybe some functions. I don't know, something like this. And this is where I'm going to do. And then I am going to show how when I have these pages, when I have this very simple set of contents, I can host this in GitHub, and also I can create a static web page, web apps, from there, and make the full configuration there to be automatically refreshed, automatically deploy, and automatically everything else once we are working. As I said, I am not a very fan of slides, but I want to mention that it's not, I mean, even if it's ideal for serving static contents, if you have APIs in the back, which I didn't really understand until I was talking with my colleague Chris Noring. He really, really rocked the web environment, and he's explaining how to create APIs. And I say, oh my God, this is great. I also want to show how we can do this. So even if it's initially the main idea is to work with static content. APIs is amazing. And of course, it's Azure, so we have global distributed web hosting, you have regions, you have a lot of stuff that you can do there. And hey, if you are starting, you even have some free SSL certification, and you have preview URLs, so you can start to see how you can do this. And I love that if you are working with branches, in example, and you have different branches for the main one, for production, pre-production, testing, or whatever, you can even have different URLs for each one of them. So it's super cool to see how you can do this. And the idea here is that if you are also working, and this is not my main expertise, but if you are working in kind of the most popular web frameworks like Angular, React, Vue.js, or some of these, they can also be run and host. They can also be host and run as an application here in a static web app, which is kind of super cool because they give you're going to be able to use routing, data input, and a lot of features from the framework. I am not going to do this today. If we have some time at the end, I will probably show. I think I have a sample React application somewhere there. So if someone wants, I can show how you can do this with React. There is an amazing module that you can also check that you can do this. But hey, let's do something. Let's create one. Let's go there and create. And by the way, before I forgot, if you want to know more, we are going to share this now. We have this module available. Let me copy the link and open here in this. This is basically a step-by-step module that we have. It's super easy, 20 minutes, maybe 18. But here you can see how a quick intro to static web apps, how you can get started, plan, create one. I think you have also here, you have in the first part or in the second, you can even choose like here, you can even choose which type of application you want to share. So if you are working with Angular or React or Svelte or Vue, you can even choose your framework. And from here, you will have the JavaScript framework tutorial for each one of these. So this is super cool. This is super easy. And if you have time, please go here and take a look because this is the key. This is very similar to what we are going to do today. But as I mentioned, today I have a most simple scenario. Today I have here a folder. It's not even a repository. And I am going to open this folder, Visual Studio Code. I have installed a couple of extensions here. And I have this. This is a very simple HTML page, no fancy stuff or whatever here. Let me comment this, and I have here title, description, and whatever. So let's run this. F5. I want to run this in. There it is. So here I am. Let's run this again. To ask me, there it is. So this is the page that we have. As I said, it's a very simple one. We don't have anything, no style, no whatever. But let's add some content here. So let's go back here and let's add my name, Bruno Capuano, and my title, Senior Cloud at Microsoft. And let's add here, stop this one, and let's add here, where are my emojis? There they are. Let's add an avocado. So this is my page. If I go back here to my, to my browser, where is my browser? Oh, I closed it, sorry. Let's run this again. There it is. So as you can see here, I updated the HTML page, super simple, with data. And that's it. As I said, it's super. I don't want to make a very big fuss of this. This is just a very simple folder that I have, a folder with my CV, which is an HTML page. Sorry about that. Style, CSS, and even have some JSON for code swing so I can use it and run it locally. Okay, with this, the idea right now is how do I get from here to a web page in Azure, to a static web page? So there are a couple of things. First of all, this is just a folder. So I don't have here any kind of GitHub repository. A Git repository is not connected to GitHub or whatever. So we talked about this a couple of months ago, how we can start and use here our repositories, how we can publish directly to GitHub. So what I am going to do now, if I go here, this is my repositories, this is my account, my repositories. I am going to basically create one repository. Let's name this Reactor. My CV Bruno is going to be public. Remember, when I choose here to do this directly from code, I can do this in the private repository or public. I'm going to do public. If someone wants to play around, it's going to be there. Select the folder. There it is. And it's going to be everything there. So it's created. I have my branch. I have everything there. And if I go back to GitHub, remember, right now I have events and blog, the two that I run. If I refresh my repositories, I will have Reactor, my CV, Bruno, and everything else. And because we are here, Ingrid, kick me out. Sorry about that. Let me do this here. Somehow I forgot to, I delete all of my, I cleaned my cache and was kicked out from GitHub. So let me log into GitHub again, 6 authentication code. There it is. So I can go back here so I can see the repository, the one that I just created 1 minute ago. And hey, I am in GitHub. If I want here, I can either read me file, and that's it. So create readme.md. So here I am. I have here, I like to use both ways. I like to use both scenarios. I like to use Visual Studio Close plus the portal of GitHub. But this is a project that we created. We have a MD file. We have a folder with the 3 files, index, CSS, and everything else. And if I go back here to Visual Studio Code, I still don't have the README file. So just a quick reminder here. There are a couple of ways that you can do this. You can do the pull. You can do everything else. Visual Studio Code, it's super amazing. We have the sync function, and we are going to do the sync here. Pull, push, sync, and a couple of seconds later, hey, we have a README file here. So everything is ready to work. So we have these files stored in GitHub, and what we want to do now is to basically create a static web app that is going to publish these files. It's going to host these files, an HTML file. So there are a couple of ways that we can do this. If you install the Azure extensions, and by the way, in order to do this, you can do static web apps. There it is. So you need to install these extensions. Once you have this extension installed, what you can do is you can start to check in your subscriptions, in your Azure subscriptions. You have here static web apps, and you are going to see your static web apps there. What I am going to do, I'm going to press F1, and I am going to create a new static web app. From here, I have the option to start a new static web app, or I can even create a resource from here, press the plus, the create new option, new resource from here, and as you can see here, I have a couple of options, static web app, an app service, a function, and a resource. Let's go for a static web app. When I create a static web app, I'm going to do basically a tutorial with the ABC. Which subscription I want to use, a name for my static web app. Let's name this delete, so I don't forget about this, CD Bruno. Let's use the same name. Reactor, my CV from Bruno. And this is important. The region is the US, and then I need to choose which framework I am going to use. Remember that we talked at the beginning that you can use Angular, React, Vue, and the most popular ones. We have it here, and we even have Gatsby, Hugo, VuePress, a couple more. I am going to choose custom. I don't have any framework here, but I need to explain and detail here where is my code. Where is my code? So my code right now is in my main folder, in my main repository, is in the app CV folder where I have my HTML files, the index.html. So I'm going to select this. And then if I am using one of these frameworks, I should probably have a build folder, a bin, build, or whatever folder. I don't have a bin folder here. This is just a static, but this is the configuration step where you define, okay, if you're using React and you have your build folder, this is the one that you are going to choose. So app/build or whatever it is. So I have this. So it's going to create a static web app. It's going to create everything on the cloud, and then it's going to also create the action in GitHub that is going to automatically publish this. So if I go back here to my repository and I go to actions, I am going to see that 10 seconds ago, there it is, a new trigger, a new workflow, a new trigger was triggered, and a new workflow is running right now that is basically building and deploying the static web. I am doing this with the static web page because they are super easy to deploy depending on the framework that you are using. React, Svelte is one of these. You are going to have maybe more time for deploy. This usually takes 90 seconds or something like this. So if you have any question, I am reading the comments. This is a good one to check the question because the first time is also need to, once the web app is created, it needs to publish everything there. And this is probably going to be the longest one. But super fast, no time to read this. But it's created, everything is there, and now it's upload all of the content. I will get here the URL with my browser where I can basically start to check my online page, So everything is done. I have here my, not this one, sorry, the build and deploy. If I go here to the bottom, I will see that in this URL, and remember, it's a super crappy URL that's created as a static web app, I have my page. But let's do a quick review of what we have. I have an HTML file in my disk, super simple, with some styles. I didn't apply the styles. I update the HTML, and I create a repo in GitHub, a repository with those files, and then I create, or from Visual Studio Code, a static web app from there. And from here, the cool thing about this is that, hey, I can go here and let's make this a little more amazing. So if I add the style, if I add my email, let's add my personal email, bcapuano@gmail.com, I add my email, and I add my GitHub username, which is Bruno. Let's complete this. If I start to complete my LinkedIn, I think this is in /Bruno. This is Bruno Capuano. I can add my skills. I will add probably AI, Python, C#, C++. Let's go for language. And then let's do some, sorry about that. Let's do some AI, machine learning, and IoT. So I have this. I am going to publish this again. So update skills and contact info. I'm going to publish this again, commit this, sync the changes. Again, remember, we talk about how we can create branches, how the right way to do this is using branches and then doing pull requests within branches. I am going fast today just to show how we can do this. But once I do this, if I go back to my repository, in the actions, we are going to see that my commit trigger a new action that is going to be update skills and contact info. And again, 1 minute, 60 seconds, 90 seconds later is going to basically deploy all of the changes that I have. And this is super cool. Remember, we didn't create anything. We didn't do anything specific. Even if I have the stuff here in the Azure portal, and I'm going to show this later, I didn't need to go there. everything I run, everything I created from Visual Studio Code, and it's super amazing that I have all of the stuff there. I can even go here, and in the Azure portal, you see that I have my new functions here. I'm sorry, my new static web apps. I have here the Reactor CV, my CV from Bruno. And if I can even start to see, okay, what is happening here? What do we have? So we have one environment for production. So this is the one that we have. I can browse the site. So this is going to open the site. I can view the properties. So I have here a couple of infos of where it is. I can do more stuff from here. I can edit the workflow if I want here. This is going to be tricky, but we can see here the YAML with all of the steps that we have. So it's going to do, if I need to do something special here, if my application has some kind of specific configuration, I can subscribe and I can edit the build job, the close pull request job, everything else from here. I have it. And hey, I can even have access to the historic, to the link of the actions that they were triggered here, the initial one and the one that they just triggered. And I can go here for each one of these and rerun, view properties, etc. It's finished. There it is. So if I go to my resume and Control F5, I'll resume this. It's kind of nicer. Still, I need to work in my Unicode or my character set to get my avocado there, but I start to have here the contact information, my skills, and everything else. So these first 10, 15 minutes, I want to show you, and by the way, this is going to be a super fast lesson. You know me that I don't want to, I don't, if I have short content, I like to focus here, but this is a super fast way to create this. And remember, you can do this and you can do the same scenario if you want to do your scenarios with this module. You can see if you have an Angular, React, Vue application, you can do it from here. But I talk about APIs. I also talk about how you can add APIs to your application. So what I have here, let's go back and let's stop a second. I have here a very simple folder, a very simple repository that is using just HTML and CSS. But if I want to add an API, if I have here my, I don't know, if I have here my CV, and in my CV website, I want to host an API. So if someone wants to get my info and also get an API to get my info in JSON format, I can add an API here. And the way that we do this is, there are a couple of ways to do this. The first one is, I like it, open the command palette, and if you install the extensions, Azure Static Web Extensions, you have this create HTTP function. So let's create a function and let's review the step. So the first thing that we are going to do when we create a function is we need to choose the language. We have JavaScript, TypeScript, C#, and Python. I am going to go for JavaScript. Again, not my cup of tea. This is not my the one that I really know how to use, but it's fine. So let's name the function. This is going to be API / the name that we have here. So let's do a simple one. Let's go for message. And then when we have this, it's going to create a new project. It's not a new project. We are going to embed a project into our main app that you can see here. And we are going to have the full configuration, the full definition for my API. So I will have, let's close this. I will have a host zone that's going to say, okay, with what we have here, we have an Azure function extension. Then we have a package, which are the packages that we are going to need and use, not one right now. I have a function ignore, the zip ignore, and I have here in the message folder, and this is important, I have the definition of my function, the code of my function. If I also have the sample data from here. So if I open function, we are going to see that there is no authentication here. It's anonymous. It's going to be triggered by an HTTP request. It's going to support get and post. That's basically it. So let's review the code. We have a very simple code here. And let me do this. Let's comment this code and add these super simple lines of code that is going to basically say that when I call the functions, I am going to return hello from the API. Let's change the hello API. This is Bruno CV. So I have this, I have my function, and let's publish this. So add base code for HTTP. So So I have my function, I add my code. Remember, I'm going to sync this. This is going to trigger a new GitHub action. So if I go here to Azure and I refresh this, go for the Reactor CV and I refresh this and I open here production, I open actions, be somewhere there. Go to there it is at the base code. The trigger takes some time, but here it is. It's working. It's triggered the next one. And hey, 1 minute later, I am going to be able to browse my function. And remember, I have an API with 2 lines of code. It's not doing literally anything, but it's already there to host this. So let's wait a couple of seconds until it finishes. Nice time to read some questions if we have questions, and also to drink some water. So it's running. Let me double check that if in Visual Studio Code, if I refresh this, somehow that's on me. I was sure that it's going to show the action, the in progress one, but it's only show the completed ones. So let's wait for this. And once it's finished, 10 more seconds, I am going to have again my page completed, but I can also use my URL and call my APIs. And this is one of the difference that when Ivana mentioned the GitHub pages before, that I think that we can't do this. At this moment, if I go to my page, there was no changes here, so nice to have. But if I add API/message and I run this, I will have my function up and running here, and it's going to return the code that I have before that when I write this. So if you also want to run some kind of a static page like the one that I have, but with the chance to run a set of APIs, this is a nice way to do this. I can even go here, and this was nice. I have my API message. Let's create a new one. Let's name to this more complex. Let's do, yes, complex API. Oh, sorry, complex API. I will have here the same code that I see before. And basically what we are going to have, we have here the request, the context. If we analyze this and you know how the functions work, we have the context, we have the request. And if I have here in the request the name and the body name, I will say, hello, name, this HTTP is trigger. Oh, that's a good question, Antonio. I am going to get there soon. The name on the trigger, and I will say that, hey, this is triggered like this. So let's run this. Let's publish this. New function, new API, new more complex API. Publish this, scene changes, and again, 90 seconds. Sorry, minute and a half later, go back to actions, and should be here anytime soon. But let's wait until it's there. And in the meantime, while it's publishing, let's take a look at my code. My code is going to be, my folder structure is going to be very simple. It's going to be, I have my original message API. Now I have my complex API. I can start to add APIs here. And let's go for Antonio's question. Antonio is asking if we recommend static web app or app services. That's a very good question. There are very similar services. I use a lot app services in the past, really a lot. I use static web apps today for mostly static content. So in example, I have here, let me show you one. I have here a static page that is hosting a WebGL project, a Unity project. So this is static. There is no code here. So in my head right now, what I think is that I will start to do static web apps for static content and app service for complex application or more, basically web application. But when I see that we can start to have, hey, what's happening here? we can start to have more context here, more complex context. I start to think that, hey, if you need to do something small, maybe static web app is a good place to start. And there is some configuration in the back, and I should probably need to bring back Alex or one of the experts to see how we can scale, how they can grow, and everything else that you can do there. So I will pick the line there, Antonio. I will try to get a more complex. It's happening here. A more complex, a more complete, answer. But I'm not really sure which is the main difference between the two of them. But that's a good question. So I will pick up this and try to do a session in the future, or maybe tweet about us where is the best place to do this. So somehow it's not loading my app here. This is what's happening in the demo mode. Let's see if the action was complete. Oh no, it's not going to be complete. I didn't see the changes. No, it's still working. Yes, sorry. Still working. But now I should be able to call complex API, and I will have the answer, which is going to be your trigger, your application, pass the name in the query string for a personalized response. So let's do this. And Bruno, and I will have, hello Bruno, this HTTP trigger function executed successfully. So, hey, if you want to use these functions, if you want to have the chance to have everything here, this is a great place to start. This is also a very simple way to do this. And regarding to the question, and this is probably a door that I don't want to open, a good way to static web app pricing, a good way to choose A or B, maybe to take a look at the pricing. Static web apps are super cheap. Not cheap, but hey, you can try for free 10 static web apps, as far as I understand. Then if you start to add different environments, you are going to need to move up into the scale. But 10 static web apps, 1 gigabyte, kind of for free. Can't remember in the app services where you start, but as you can see, also they are not very expensive. Something that you are doing your numbers, it makes sense to have here. Main difference also here, depending on where you are, you can or can't add a custom domain. So if you want to run something, I don't know, if I plan to move my blog, elbruno.com, to a domain, I can't use the free one. I need to go to the shared one or the other ones. But hey, there are a couple of scenarios here. And if you need to also have private endpoint, you are running something locally, it's something that you need to take care of. So Jorge is commenting that there are some pros and cons here. So each one, you cannot upload your own SSL to static, but for sure, hey, I didn't know that. That's a good one. Thank Jorge for sharing this, that you cannot add your own SSL. So that makes a lot of sense. Again, initially in my head, static web apps are kind of a simple, small one. App service are the big ones, and it makes sense that you cannot customize a lot here. But I will also suggest everyone to suggest a place to do this. Sid is asking if there is example where web apps are showcased. I don't know. I should probably go here, of course, to web apps to see how we can create static web apps and see something else, and then start to see what else we have here. And by the way, I did this only for Linux, but you have everything else. So I don't know if it's a site where you can see what you can have. I go back here and suggest, take a look at this, take a look at your scenario, take a look at one of these, and you are going to find a lot of more static web app services demos that you can use. By the way, I will strongly advise everyone that this is nice if you are going to play around. This is nice if you want to play and show your CV, in example, because it's also a nice way to, if someone is playing, why do you have your CV in this URL? you can explain and show something like this, your process, so you know that how you learn GitHub, how you learn Git, how you learn some HTML, or even if you move further, how you learn React, Facebook. So it's nice to showcase this. If you're thinking about this in production, I will invite Jorge or some of the experts here to talk about how we can use this in production. So this is kind of the idea. This is kind of what I was planned to show today. There are much more content here that you can take a look, how you plan this, if you want to customize your actions, if you want to do much more stuff. Not going to go there. We don't have time. I was saying this for 30 minutes. We are in 30 something today. So I will be alone I will be online, a couple of questions, a couple of minutes to see if there are more questions. In the meantime, if you want to contact me, Twitter is probably the best place at Bruno. And hey, I will probably, if everyone is all right, please give me a thumbs up or something like this. I will probably book a session talking about the main difference between static web apps, Azure Static Web Apps, app service, and GitHub pages, because that question comes again and again and again when we are talking about this. And I think it will be great to show to try to explain the difference there. If you already know one platform, two, or even the three, let's talk a little about which are the difference. So if you are okay with this, let me know in the comments, and I will try to book a session with people who know more about this in the near future. And if you have any other questions, if you have any other topics that you want to share, we are going to share right now the link to our, my mouse is doing crappy things today. We're going to share it right now, the link to a survey and the event ID. Please go navigate this. Please tell us, what do you think? What other topics do you want to cover? What else do you want to do? I was really, really amazed when I find that I can also add APIs here to my Azure web pages, because as I mentioned, in this sample that I don't know why it's not working now, there it is. In this sample, this is a static web page showing a game, a player playing around. Oh, sorry, let me add my. This playing, showing my character working around, playing around here. So I was in the need to add a little more backend functionality to this page, but it was just static. So I was in the plan to move this to an app service, doing more stuff. But now that I have these API functions, that API integration that I have here, this is super cool, because I can have kind of a small Azure function in my web page that is going to allow me to integrate this very simple web page with more other stuff. So again, take a look at this. Let's talk about this. If you are okay, we will do kind of a session talking about the difference between A, B's, and C's. And go back to my slides. Okay, go back to my slides. To this one, to close this also. Follow us, please, on Twitter if you want to know more. Follow our YouTube channel if you want to see more sessions like this. And see you next one. This was supposed to be a super fun one, super fast one. It was fast. And hey, let's see if we want to do more with this. Goodbye, everyone.